All right, yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 3 o'clock here in Chicago, Saturday. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. I am inadvertently very patriotic today. Got the red, white, and blue hat and the shirt on. I had a black hat on earlier. I don't know where it went. It seems to have disappeared. How's everybody doing today? We got a lot of people in here already. Roadrunner Reviews, awesome. Doku Dagarin is here from Canada. Kevin Scott. Stevie76 says, yo, what's going on? Good to see everybody. JC8489 says, howdy, hope you're all having a good weekend. Awesome. Roadrunner Reviews finally got 80-degree temps in Kentucky. That's cool. Are you guys having a slow start to the spring over there for you guys too? Michael Sessler's here. Tony Yu is here as well from Vancouver. And his Dunbar's here. Says, hope your Saturday's going well. It's going okay. It's kind of a weird day for me a little bit. It's nice because it's a Saturday, which is nice that my wife doesn't have to work. But it's a day where I needed to catch up, so I had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff I had been putting off that I finally did today. I went down to my office. I ran down there, and that was the first time I'd been there in like 60 days. So that was kind of like really weird to be there. And it was also the first time I'd like seen downtown. I mean, I could see downtown from here, kind of like there's like a sliver of the city that I could see from this window. But, you know, I hadn't been downtown. I hadn't been by the water in a long time. Not that I could get by the lake, but I could get by, like, cross over the river. So, you know, that was weird. It was all like very bittersweet. And today I spent the day like doing like administrative stuff for work, so it was like not a really fun Saturday, you know, but stuff that needed to get done, and I haven't been able to get it done during the week. Let's see. Roadrunner Review says it's been 60s and 70s until today, so pretty mild though. I think probably pretty nice weather for Kentucky. Right now the weather is about to flip a switch. It's been absolutely beautifully warm here today, like in the 80s and not that humid. But now I could feel the air coming. There's a window like right on the other side of this iPad, and I could feel the air like changing temperature, and the clouds are coming in. We're supposed to get some pretty strong thunderstorms today, so we'll see. Hopefully it holds off at least during the live stream today. Yeah, so that's what my Saturday's been. But I think the girls have been having a really good time. So my wife is baking some cakes. My daughter's our favorite thing to do right now is when my wife makes cakes is to put food coloring in it and then swirl it around so that it's swirly. They really love that. I mean, it tastes the same. It doesn't affect the flavor, but it is just like much more like enjoying to look at. And like, I will say that the baby will actually eat the cake when it's like swirled and food colored like that. Normally she just eats the frosting and then throws the rest away. But at least now she'll eat the cake. Roy Garcia says, yo, we need that black non-elite short sleeve shirt. Yeah, okay. All right, you know what? I was doing a lot of searching. We were talking about the koozie the other day. So I've been searching on how to do the koozie, and I'm debating whether to do like something real simple and keep it very cheap, or do something a little bit nicer and make it a little bit more expensive. I think I'm going to do something from like Custom Ink or something like that. And then I was also thinking, well, you know what? On those sites, when it's not print on demand, when it's like, you know, you order 100 units of something, then you can get like running shirts rather than just t-shirts. So I'm thinking about that. It's more of a risk because then I have to like figure out like how many I want to order, and then it's more work too, because then it's like, then I got to fulfill the orders. Like when they come in, I got to ship them out. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I get one of those like, what is it? There's like that commercial that's always on TV, like where you weigh it and it prints out the labels for you and all that stuff. So like, I think I need to do something like that. And then, you know, since I'm not working, that's something that I can do now, I guess. But then I also have to store it at home. So that's like, you know, I'm thinking it over, talking it over with my wife, seeing what we really want to do there. My mom's here saying hi from New Jersey. Joey Runs is here. Good to see you. Lee Phillips says hi. And Shannon says, hey, Co, loving the hat. Best part of the ATL Expo, besides the Powerade sprint machine. Yeah, I mean, this is the one that Polar was given. I feel like bought a Polar at the Expo. They gave me one of these, but they just gave me one of these, which was very nice. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. And like today I'm wearing like my Salute Inc. shirt. But I was like, it's Memorial Day weekend. We could be a little bit more patriotic today. We could do that. Tony Yu says, "What's your everyday carry?" Right now, I mean, right now it's different. Right now I just have the phone with me, but normally my everyday carry is my phone. I have a little key card holder. Actually, yeah, I have it. I have it with me now because I went. I also went to the UPS store. I sent a whole bunch of shoes over to Seth because I had some that were in my closet. Some were new, and one only had like 10 miles in it. One only had like 30 miles in it, and I was like, I'm not gonna run in these, so I sent them to Seth. So I went to the UPS store today, and I had to have my wallet. So I have one of these things. So it's like a card holder thing, and then I got like my door card is in here. That's in my front pocket. These are my keys with a tile tracker because I lose everything. So that's like what goes in my pocket. I don't always carry my wallet around with me, which has like my cash and like all my other credit cards, but like it has like a card, and it varies. Most of the time, it usually has just swipe cards to get into like the daycare, to get into the building, to get into the office. Although the office now goes by a Bluetooth app, which is really nice. Although it's so slow. But that's usually the everyday carry. And then I also carry epinephrine for my daughter. So but it's epinephrine junior. But now I don't have to carry that because we have it at home, and I carry it when we're outside, when we're riding bikes. But that's pretty much it. I keep it pretty simple. In the bag, like in my run commute bag, is usually like change of clothes for if I'm run commuting to work, and then I have work clothes and shoes there and stuff. So like I'll bring in like the day's like dirty clothes, and I'll bring a fresh set of like shirts and stuff. But the suits I leave at work, and the shoes I leave at work. And that's pretty much it. Sometimes there's an iPad, sometimes there's a laptop, sometimes there's a camera. It varies. But it's been a long time since I had to think about that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Roskin says it's 4 a.m. in Malaysia. Well, hopefully you're having a good morning and not like up too late. Unless you meant to be up too late. But, when people say 4 a.m., I worry that it's insomnia, and hopefully that's not it. Greg asks, any plans for a long weekend besides running live streams and vlogs? That's pretty much the plan for the weekend. That's all we got. All right. My microphone wasn't plugged in properly. I don't know if that made it better or worse, or hopefully we're still okay. Let's scroll down to the bottom. All right. You guys will let me know if you can't hear me. Martha's here. Good to see you, Martha. Martin Lange is here from Germany. Awesome. Yeah, so no big plans. Are you guys going places? I feel like a lot of people in Chicago are going places this weekend. I don't know where they're going. Hopefully they're just going to like, but are you going to your family in the suburbs? Like, I don't know. Like, it worries me. Like, if I was in the suburbs, I'd be fine, I think, going to visit my other family in the suburbs. But coming from like the city, where there's just more cases here, it makes me nervous. I just feel really nervous from today being inside the UPS store. And they did a really good job of like keeping everything socially distant, but it was an enclosed area. I had to talk to the lady, and hand her like stuff. And she gave me a receipt, and I was like, let me pull it out of the machine. But she just gave it to me, and I was like, oh well. Maybe I'm overreacting, but it just makes me nervous to go somewhere. But yeah. Let's see. Sherry Carmack says, flip that switch here west of Chicago. Yeah. Oh yeah, you getting the rain? Yeah, I feel like it's definitely coming. One of the beautiful things about here is like we're by the lake. So like over there is the lake, like in about 2 blocks. And that way is like Wrigley Field. And sometimes if I'm on the roof, like if we're out grilling or if we're just having an afternoon out there on the rooftop deck, it's a common area in the building. Sometimes you could see like the weather front come in and roll in, and then sometimes it's been real bad where you just like have to hurry up and get inside, but there's like a windowed area that you can be in there, and you could see like, and it's just like you can really see the power of like atmosphere and air. It's really bizarre. It's very beautiful to see. Usually from our apartment, what we see is like it'd be like if you were like underneath a wave and watching it pass you, because we have southern exposure here, so we would see it that way. But it's still kind of cool, but it's not quite the same as when you can like see it and it feels like it's like right on you. It's pretty intense. I'll have to try and capture that sometime. Gastrovit says, greetings from Istanbul. How's it going? Good to see you. Adam Anderson, I thought about taking a nap, then I realized it's Kofuzi time, so here I am. So I'm ranking higher than sleep today. That's a pretty high compliment. That's pretty awesome. Thank you very much. Hopefully, hopefully you don't regret it later. um, let's see. Talking about the shirt, Shannon said he would buy a technical shirt, not a cotton. Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people were like bummed about that, but that's all Teespring has. That's all like Printful, Teespring. They don't do like the tech tees on print on demand. I don't know why, because you can get it done at like regular places. You just have to be willing to front like and make the big purchase ahead of time, which I'm not that worried about. But then like I was looking at the koozies, and to get multiple colors, that one I had to order in increments of 100, and I'm like, can I push 100 koozies? I don't know. I mean, there's 88 people here now, right? I could see that, but like, I just still feel like 100 people buying a koozie. That like, I mean, the print cost would have been the production cost was $3 a unit. So like to sell it, I have to pay for shipping and like a shipping bag and like, so like, what do you sell it at? And then, but I'm like, do people want to buy a $6 koozie? I mean, I consider koozies like basically like a step above disposable from like tissues, So it's just like, I don't know. So I'm thinking about going single color on that, and those are like kind of like decisions that I don't really like to make, and so I'm gonna try not to procrastinate too long on it because I know if I do, it'll never get done, So I'm gonna try. I'll get something done. Hopefully we could dip our toes in the water to this. It'll works out well, and then we could have more fun, like very running specific stuff. That's my hope. Steve says, "Yo, went to buy the Tempo. It was out of stock in my size. Ooh, so bought SL20 for 63 pounds. That's as good as free. I don't understand why that shoe's so cheap. You know what else I don't understand? Is I don't know what happened, but all the Ultra Boosts, if you look on the Adidas website, none of them are discounted anymore. All of them are full $180 price. Even like the original colors, which normally by now the original colors would be cheaper. And so like, I'm not sure what's going on. Adidas is just, I don't know who's in charge of pricing over there. They're either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid. I'm not sure. But like the SL20 and the Adios 5 were like, the Adios 5 was like $80 for a little while. The Boston 9 isn't even on the website. The Ultra Boost 20 is $180. Like, I don't understand. All right, everyone's saying that the sound is good. Okay, so hopefully that's all right then. Let me try and move this, angle this closer to my mouth. Yeah, the lighting is changing though. Look at my face. Like the lighting is definitely changing. It's freaking out this iPad camera. Let's do this. All right. Okay. Nathan says, happy Saturday from Hawaii. Just got back from a run. Hope everyone was well. Awesome. Hope the run was good. Hopefully everything's going well in Hawaii. I keep hearing like how Hawaii's getting hit real hard just because, people have to fly to get there and requires tourism and flying. So you guys are getting hit pretty hard. So hopefully you guys are doing okay. Levi TV says, I live in Bucktown and there were so many people outside. I turned around and went home. Yeah, here it hasn't been too bad here in Lakeview. But like, I just knew that like today with it being 80 degrees now, like I'm kind of, it's been weird that this entire month I've been really glad when the weather's like been chilly or raining. Cause then I'm like, well, then maybe people will not congregate. I mean, it's one thing for everyone to be outside and that's in and of itself okay. But like, when lots of people get outside, then they start like, people are sticky. They congregate once they're outside together, And so like that always makes me nervous. I don't think it's that bad, and at least not. I mean, I was on WBEZ, the radio station, their website today, and because I was just listening while I was doing some work, and they have like a zip code finder. You can look up the number of cases in Chicago by zip code, and where we are, it's not that bad, I guess relatively speaking, but I just feel like that can change in a moment. That's what makes me nervous. But I mean, again, maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know. Sebastian Barahona says, hey, Kofuzi, everyone attempts at 99 degree Fahrenheit. I just ran at 95-ish Fahrenheit at 70% humidity. No point in wearing a shirt at that point. Really wish Miami had a winter phase. I mean, I have before, like a couple of times in Chicago, like, when you run in July and August, it might get like that if you have to run in the middle of the day. But like for it to be 95 and really humid is not that common in Chicago. We get like high 80s and like really thick humidity, not like Miami humidity, but like so I think I could deal with it if I were acclimated. I think acclimation goes a long way. But like if I were to go now into 95-degree heat and 70% humidity, I would just melt. I would be a puddle. So good on you. I'm glad you were able to make it back safely. Contador 819 says, been doing math training only a month now. What do I do about an already planned race day tomorrow? I say go have fun. You know, it's you know, you're not on like a super tight schedule right now. So I would say go race it. Um, Enjoy the race. Is it? It's not a live race, is it? Is it a virtual race? Yeah, I mean, if it's a virtual race, just have a really great time. That's all. I mean, yeah, don't worry about it. Maffetone will be there tomorrow. J. Mark Remy says, we have a cabin in remote New Hampshire. Grilling and making s'mores with Co. Awesome. Getting some good vert this weekend. That sounds great. That sounds like the best weekend. I was just thinking like, oh, it was like really balmy weather when I was walking back from the UPS store. And like, there was lots of people out because it was so nice. Mostly people just running errands. I was like, you know what? I think it would be so great to just sit on some grass somewhere with my girls, and just like, I mean, we could be doing the same like banal, like boring stuff. We probably all prefer to just be sitting on our iPads and stuff or watching like videos. But like to do it outside together would be nice. We don't really have a space like that. So I'm very jealous, J. Mike. Enjoy it. Enjoy it for the both of us. Um, Joseph Horn says, do you have a special method of drying your shoes after getting them wet without ruining them? I feel like my shoes never feel the same after they get soaked. Um, if they're super, super wet, I might alternate them when they're like drying out, like flipping them upside down and then right side up. Just so that way, like different parts of the shoe can get more exposed to the ambient air. That's like the only main thing I do. If they're really gross, like if I was out there and I got caught out there for a couple hours in rain and it's just nasty, I might take the insoles out as well, just so that way there's that much more like potential airflow. I might even like put them by a fan, although like if they're stinky shoes, then you want to be careful, because then your room's gonna stink. But the other thing you can do is put like paper towels or newspapers in there. And what I do with that, I'll like bunch them up, kind of like the paper that gets in there in your shoes when you buy them. That's in there. I bunch them up like that, and then I'll replace the paper frequently, so that way, because the paper is soaking up the water, and drawing the water out of the shoe. So you don't want to like leave that in there because eventually it'll keep spreading. The water will keep going back and forth. So that's what I would do to dry them out. Calm O'Brien says, hi, here in Ireland. I think we were handling it pretty good. Ran 60K this week. Happy. Oh, it's a good week. Awesome. I'm glad you're doing well. Matthew Blumker is in Missouri and it's 90 and had a beautiful run in the woods. Well, I hope we had some sun cover if you were in the woods. 90 degrees in Missouri. For my time in St. Louis that I remember, anytime it was 90 degrees, it was just miserable. St. Louis was hot. I think that was too hot for me in the summer. Maybe not too hot, but it was hot. I remember, this is how long ago I lived in St. Louis, where I had a Discman that I kept in the car, and then I attached the headphone jack to one of the tape deck things that had a headphone jack out of it. Do people remember that? Do people remember tape decks in cars? Right? Everyone here remembers that. I think the age group, most people here are about my age or somewhere near it, where they would probably remember tape decks that were in cars. And they used to have the thing where there's a tape, but it had like a little tail, and the tail was a 3.5 millimeter cable with a 3.5 jack at the end of it. And you could plug that into anything. And then when I lived in St. Louis, I had a Discman that I would play CDs in, because my head unit in the car was just the radio and the tape deck. And the car got so hot in St. Louis that it temporarily like melted the Discman. Like it wouldn't play discs. Like the internals were just overheated and it wouldn't work. Then like the following morning, when I came back to the car, the Discman worked again and it was fine. But it was just that hot. It was crazy. But yeah, Roadrunner reviews, remember those. Martha remembers tape decks. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't seem like that long ago that was like the thing. And you know what? I remember in the beginning when like iPods started getting really popular, and we transitioned away from it. And my wife and I, like, we have like only very sporadically owned cars throughout our time together, and we would rent a lot of cars, and we would get upset when the car didn't have a tape deck in it, because there was that transitional period where like the tape decks went away because they had like the CD player things in there. Remember that, when you had to put the CDs in your car, and then you'd be like, oh man, I want to listen to that album, but I left it in my car. Remember that conversation? Anyway, so then like the cars would only have the CD things in there, but they wouldn't have tape decks. But it was still also early enough that they didn't have 3.5 millimeter jacks, like the aux jack in it wasn't in there yet. And so then we would have our iPod ready to like go on a road trip from like St. Louis to Iowa, for example, and we wouldn't have any way of playing it. And the workaround was they had those Bluetooth receivers that would plug into your headphone jack, and then it would like use some of the low frequencies on the radio. Those were terrible. Those were absolute. The sound quality was miserable. The volume was miserable. That was horrible. That was a weird transitional time. Jeff Lanigan says, iPods used to seem so convenient, but now with streaming, I couldn't imagine having to constantly manage downloads on an MP3 player. Yeah, I know, right? I went to college at the time of Napster. So like that was like my sophomore and junior year, maybe sophomore and freshman year. Yeah, freshman and sophomore year in college. And like it quickly became unmanageable. And that's when iTunes became really powerful, because then you could like start tagging and make smart lists. Remember smart lists on iTunes? I mean, it's become so much more advanced now, where there's like algorithms where like you don't have to go through and tag it yourself. Like the services themselves can determine, analyze a song based on whatever criteria they're using and feed you more music that it thinks sounds like that. But before, you had to like say like, yes, I like this song, and I will categorize it as category hip hop. And then you can make a list for like songs that I've given a star rating of 3 or higher that are in hip hop, and you would make lists that way. But yeah, it was so much work. It was so much curating. And I got so tired of it after a while that after like the streaming services, I loved them. I stopped buying music so fast once like streaming services came out, because I'm not good at like managing stuff like that. But wow, that was a really long tangent. I apologize. But yeah, that was a fun little trip down memory lane though for me. Yeah, Shannon Tsai says, that is a perfect example of a St. Louis summer circa 1996. Yeah, I mean, the summer I'm talking about would have been, that particular event that day that was really hot, would have been like the summer of 2001, I think, is what I was talking about. But yeah, right around then. Sherry Carmack says, so glad we moved on from iTunes. You know what's ironic is that some of the work that I do, it's, I work with, I consult with attorneys going to trials, and I help them with their trial presentation software and just basically getting them ready to be able to present evidence in court. And one of the pieces of software that I use, because of the way that like it's hard to kind of like load a lot of data onto an iPad sometimes, sometimes the recommended way, if you don't want to use a cloud service, which some government agencies don't want to, and some law firms don't want to, you have to use iTunes and like load files through iTunes. So you're telling like someone in like a professional setting, we're all wearing suits, and you're like, here's how you do it. Open up iTunes, connect your iPad like with the cable that you charge it with, to your computer, and then you can download things that way. Just like a very weird conversation to have. I think that's going away with Files, the Files app, but weird. Running it out says loves Spotify. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Spotify. I preferred Pandora. I felt like Pandora was giving me more, had more churn to it. It was more churn, so like more like new stuff that kept feeding me. But it also, after like 30 minutes, was like, oh, the quality of songs is picking me. It's almost like intentionally making me pick another station so that it could feed me more ads. Like it was just like, it felt like there was a timer on it. But then like Spotify kind of like took over everything. Because then you could like make your own playlists and share those playlists, and that was a lot of fun. And so that was like the killer feature for me. Jonathan Jog says, just got back home to catch the stream today, went cycling for 16.8 miles today. Awesome. glad to have you here. Hope you had a good ride. Levi TV says, would you consider the Fuel Cell TC a max cushion shoe? I wouldn't. I don't consider it a max cushion shoe because, like, max cushion for me is, I would consider it. I mean, I guess of like the faster shoes, it's max cushion, but I use it for like tempo days. But then again, like I think it's very similar to the Nike Zoom Fly 3, and I know that a lot of people use that shoe for like their just daily training or use it almost as a max cushion shoe. But it's usually only people that are a lot taller than me, maybe that are a little bit bigger than me. So that's kind of the caveat that I would use. But I would think of it more as like your workout shoe that has a lot of cushion to it, rather than a max cushion shoe. It's really supposed to be like all that cushion is supposed to absorb impact from working harder. But you can use it that way too. Jody Run says, I still, let's see, making a mixtape on a cassette tape and listening to it on a Walkman, feeling old. Yeah. I remember, I remember when, burning CDs to listen to. Oh, there's a lightning. I don't know if you guys heard that. Oh, it's close too, because I only saw the lightning flash like 2 seconds. But yeah, I remember making mixtape. There was an art to it for sure. And then like you had to write it all out on the thing, and then like you didn't want to mess up because you had to wrote it in pen, but then you only got one. It wasn't like you had a whole bunch of them, so like you'd be very careful when you wrote. Anyway, Tony Yu says, what kind of shoes do you wear casually? Do you just typically wear your runners? A lot of the time, for the most part. I also, like in the winter time, this winter I had a pair of like Timberland boots, but they were like kind of like sportier Timberland boots. I really like those a lot. And then I've been wearing these shoes from Decker's Lab. They're like they're from the same company that makes Hoka's, but or the same parent company that makes Hoka's, and they're really heavy, but they're super plush on the inside. It's like all memory foam. So I've been wearing those. They look ugly. They're big and chunky, but they're fun to wear and very comfortable. I wore some of those today as I was walking around running some errands. Shannon says he couldn't hear the lightning, but he heard the thunder. Yeah, sorry about that. What was a mix CD back? What was on a mix CD back in the day? For me, I mean, it just depended. I would keep it by genre, so I very much made it a playlist kind of thing, where it was like just like maybe like alternative metal or alternative rock, then maybe it was like hip hop. Those are pretty much the two categories that I had. I listened to a lot of like poppy punk, like SoCal punk. I listened to a lot of that. I was a big fan of that in college. I still kind of am. Mr. Picot says, which do you prefer, Saucony Freedom 3 or the Kinvara 11? I definitely prefer the Kinvara 11. I think the Freedom 3 is too squishy. And normally that's not a phrase that I would think that I would say, but like it's so squishy that I feel like as I step, it's like here's the front of the foot. It's like wobbly almost. So that makes me nervous, and I think it's bothering my knee when I run in them. Although last time I ran in them, I felt pretty good for the most part. Ross Paul says, hope you're doing well. Do you think the Next Percent is still currently the best carbon-plated shoe on the market? I'd say probably. I don't know about the Alpha Fly. I've never ran those. But yeah, I think it probably is. I'm trying to think what would be better. I really like the Meta Racer. That's a lot of fun to run in. But it's I don't think I could run a marathon in it. I like the Fuel Cell TC, although that's not really their racer. But I think that like if that's like their training shoe, the training companion, if that's what the TC stands for, like I don't think I can run a marathon in the RC then. So I think we've reached a time with all of this shoe companies now needing to like actually like release their shoes because of the IOC regulations, where like this is a time where like pro means something, right? And so like the Hyperion Elite I think was like the first in that, and a very stark example of that, where like pretty much like 99% of the population hates that shoe. The 1% of the population loves it, and that 1% of the population like does 6-minute miles for a marathon or faster. And so like, the Fuel Cell RC, I suspect, is going to be a great shoe, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to run in it in a marathon. That's my suspicion so far. But in terms of like the Next Percent, what's amazing about that is that like everyone can run in it, and it feels great. And I don't know that there's anything that's better than that. Yeah. Adam Anderson says, burning CDs brings back memories of LimeWire. Sure does, doesn't it? Condador says, yeah, his race tomorrow is just a virtual race. Yeah, so I think if it's your virtual race, if you've been doing Maffetone training, go out and just have fun. Keep in mind that with your Maffetone training, your top end speed's not going to really be there anymore. Depending on how long, you said you were doing it for a month. Yeah, so you're in a weird transitional space where like you're not doing Maffetone that well and you're not running like you used to. So temper expectations, I would say. Michael Keating says, thoughts on SL20 versus PEG 37. He can get it down to $100 with the promo code he has. That's interesting. I think that depends on what you need is where I put it. If you want something that's going to be more for faster stuff, then I would go with the SL20. You can do some daily training in it, but I don't think it's going to be a daily training workhorse like the Pegasus 37 can be. The Pegasus 37 can do, I think it's more tuned towards faster running or faster/shorter running. But I think like the top end speed, I don't know that it's going to be there quite like the SL20 is going to be, just because it's a bigger shoe. It's got more React foam in it. It's a little bit heavier. But I think both are going to be pretty good options. I think that you'll get more use probably out of the PEG 37 if you're looking for versatility. Martha said her ring cones felt dead today, and they barely have over 100 miles on them. Barely way over 100. Is that unusual? The uppers look like new. You know what? I've been hearing a lot, and I only had my ring cone until 100 miles. I think we donated them to charity like right. Well, they actually might still be in the house. I think we did one like charity run right before everything kind of like started shutting down, but they might still be in the house. But I stopped running them right pretty much at like the 100-mile mark. But I've heard from a lot of people that like they complain that at like 100 or maybe up to 150, the shoes just died. I find that kind of hard to believe, but that seems to be like a pretty popular experience or common experience. So it might be the case. I wouldn't think that at your size though that would be the case though. I'd feel like you'd be able to surely handle it, but it wouldn't be unheard of for that to happen. I'd give him another shot. Maybe it was just the day, didn't feel good on you. Hopefully it's not the case. Hopefully you can get some more mileage out of it. Carlos Pierre says, I have a pair of Clifton 6s coming on Monday. I hope I like them. After the ones, none of them was any good, at least for me. I've only run in the one re-release and in the 6 as far as the Clifton series go. But my understanding is that from the Clifton Faithful, that the 6 is the best one in a long time. Jeff Flanagan says, I like the Vaporfly Flyknit. I didn't get Next Percents because I didn't like the Vaporweave upper on the Zoomfly 3. Yeah, I will say though that the Vaporweave upper on the Next Percent is different than the one that's on the Zoomfly 3. But I feel like after the Vaporfly Flyknit, that's what, like the Next Percent, like people started it started losing some of its mass appeal. A lot of people loved that shoe, the Next Percent still, but then it was like a little bit. Some people were like, I'm not sure. Vaporflies are pretty good. And then like with the Alpha Fly, even went further afield where a lot of people were like, I don't know. Next Percents are pretty good, and even then, maybe I'll just go with the Vaporfly. So that kind of started like it having such universal appeal. But I can understand that, what you're saying, Jeff. Marvin Hang says, I still remember trying to time the moment I pushed the record button, listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40. Oh, I remember that too. Like you would listen to the radio and have a tape deck and hit record. Some of them you had to hit record and play. I think most of them you had to hit record and play at the same time. It's like you had to be really sure you wanted to do it. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Giuseppe Angelucci says, Nova Blast or Triumph 17? That's an interesting question. I'd probably pick the Triumph 17. I like the bounce on it. Both are very squishy shoes and very pleasant to run in. I ran in the Nova Blast today, and that shoe is just a mystery to me a little bit. I'm still trying to really wrap my head around it. I'm still collecting my thoughts, but it's just very squishy. And there's something about it that's just like it just doesn't feel right about it. How squishy it is. The Triumph 17, I feel like it's much softer, but it also bounces back a little bit better than the Nova Blast does for me in terms of my preferences. But I mean that it may purely come down to preferences. So, Neil Cam says, "Do you think Chicago will happen this year? It'll be your first marathon." Ooh, I don't know. All we can do right now is train as if it's going to happen. And then I think we'll know early enough that it's not going to be like, oh man, I got like 90% through my training block and I was about to taper and now they canceled it. So I think we'll know ahead of time. But I mean, if you've got like a 20-week training plan or a 16-week training plan, I'm not sure when the start of that would be. It'd probably be sometime soon, maybe June-ish, July, right? June. I would go ahead and start, but you'll know soon enough whether it's going to be canceled or not, I think. That's my feeling. Um, yeah, Martha says, in terms of the Hyperion Elite, 1% of the population equals Des Linden, but the Hyperice tempo rocked. That's funny. That's really funny. But yeah, going back to Neil's comment though, I hope Chicago goes, but I don't know that it will. Jeff Flanagan says he loves the Peg 37, but it does feel too heavy for tempo or race days. Yeah, which is unusual because like, I mean, the thing is, I think because there's so much React in it, it doesn't feel speedy like a tempo or race day shoe, but I think that it could handle like a really long marathon effort. Like I think this is the first Pegasus that I could run a marathon in. And what I'm thinking, I've been talking to you guys about it, what are we gonna do like when this is all over? How do we celebrate or how do we like, you know, live after our near death experience? I was talking about like, I'm gonna try and run a marathon like a month, every month. Not race them all, but like just have like a 26.2 mile long run every month, um, or something like that. And like what'll be interesting is then I can play around with shoes like this and see how they feel for 26.2. So I kind of look forward to that. I mean, there's nothing that says I can't start doing that now, but I look forward to also doing the real marathons with people to either like do an informal pace group or pace someone, and meet up with some of you guys in different cities, and I really am looking forward to that. Geotapia says, still have interest in Nike Gyakuso. I do really like Gyakuso a lot. This last year though, I don't know. Like when he tried, like Gyakuso is futuristic to me, and then the Gyakuso Trail, the peg Trail Gyakuso that he made last year, I had the yellow and white ones and I really liked it, except for like the retro like styling parts to it, you know, and so like it's just a weird when he's like trying to do like this connection to like Nike retro, and like I don't know, I feel like he's like his design aesthetic is changing in a way that I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to follow him. So far I'm still like, okay, we'll see. I want to see what he comes out with next year. This year I'm not thinking I'm gonna pick anything up. Um, Ozenfront Ozenfont Backstro says, you happen to know a daily trainer with a 4 to 6 millimeter drop? Kinvara 11. Um, he says, good evening from Vienna. We have a rainstorm going down right now as well. It's great. Yeah. I think the rain hasn't quite started yet. It's just the storm is starting. Oh, well, it must be. I see someone with an umbrella out there. Um, Laurent Lefebvre says, when you've been trying to do your BQ marathon, what was the pace that you tried to keep up with? How much ahead of the accepted time did you try to push your pace? I cheated a little bit. I mean, not literally, but I did mine on a downhill race, a downhill course. And I knew that I needed 7 minutes, 14 seconds per mile on average to be able to get just the BQ time. I felt pretty confident that I could at least come in at 3:05. So like I knew I was running, at a pace that was 5 minutes faster. So that's kind of where I was shooting for. I ended up almost 10 minutes faster. And so like I had a pretty good day. I did have a lot of help with gravity, but that's kind of where I think most people are looking for. I mean, some people you might not be able to run faster than the BQ time, but I feel like I felt very comfortable going in with like running 5 minutes faster or whatever the pace was. I don't remember the number, but that's what I was looking for. Um, let's see, what do we got here? Pace Pusher says, sweet street art in the Instagram post today. Yeah, JC Rivera is one of my favorite artists, street artists. There's two that I really love, although I think JC Rivera lives in LA now. But there's two Chicago artists that I particularly enjoy. JC Rivera is one, Frank Quintaro is the other one. They both make like little like cartoony monsters. Frank Quintaro makes like very literal monsters. JC Rivera does the bear champs, like the bears, those yellowish bears that he makes. The other artist that I really like is Hebrew Brantley. He does the Flyboys. So those are probably like my top three in Chicago of the artists. And lately, I've been trying to stay pretty close to home in terms of my running, and there's only so many that are in this neighborhood. Um, so it's like I don't always have a chance to go run by them. But today ran downtown to the office, and I even forgot until I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I was like, oh, totally forgot that's right there where I'm running by today. So I like kind of backtracked and did a little bit of a loop to make sure I got a shot of it today because that's one of my favorite ones. It's at some like it's like a martini bar taco lounge. It's a really weird concept of like a night uh, entertainment establishment. I've never been in there. I have really no desire to ever go inside, but I do really like the outside, the art that's there. Um, there used to be a really good Hebrew Brantley over by what was like the Nike in Bucktown, but then that location closed, and I don't know if that art is still there. And then there was other art, a giant Hebrew Brantley in I forget, is it like Uptown or North Center? And it was the side of a large building, and it was giant. And then it got like I don't know if it got graffiti on it or it got tagged somehow, but now it's just like it's not the same. So, like it's ephemeral. That's what I mean. I like ephemeral art. Um, it changes. It's not always going to be there, so you have to enjoy it and appreciate it when you can. Um, Derek Dixon says, "Have you heard of the Chicago band Into It? Over It? I'm not familiar." Cody Davis says, "Can you use the Insta360 selfie stick work with a GoPro?" Yeah, of course you can. And I've done that before a lot. All you need is a quarter 20 mount, that a quarter 20 female with a GoPro mount on the end of it. The only thing I don't like about that setup is that the way that the selfie sticks work is by twisting it, and then you're twisting on the quarter 20 the thread your GoPro, and so sometimes you'll loosen it. It loosens in two directions. One is in the stick, and one is on the GoPro mount part itself. So like you just gotta watch out for that, but you can definitely use it. Fabian Will said, "Hi Kofuzi, have you ever thought about running 50K, or did you do it already? I'm thinking about doing it very soon. It'll just be by myself in the neighborhood, running a couple of loops." Jonathan Lung says, "Do you track your macros? Any particular diets, fasting, etc.?" I don't. I try to eat a little bit of everything, mostly vegetables. That's like Michael Pollan's like kind of mantra. Um, yeah. I try to keep things relatively clean in terms of not eating too many processed foods, but you know, normally during like the work times, I buy my lunch every day. So like, I don't eat McDonald's or Arby's and stuff every day, but I'm buying, fast food, usually fast casual food. So like, I like to think it's a little bit healthier, but it's probably not that much. But yeah, I try to keep it clean, but my eating habits are not. I wouldn't recommend anyone eats the way that I eat. Um, let's see. Yeah, Steve Ehrenberg says actually rooting for a prolonged Chicago storm to empty the sidewalks for a run. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Definitely. Um, Correction says, who are your, and I'll probably end with this one today since we talked a lot about music today. I think this would be a great place to end. Is who are your favorite artists to listen to while you run? I have a variety of artists I listen to. I have a couple of playlists. So I have a Kofuzi Run Club playlist on Spotify and a Kofuzi Run Club playlist on Apple Music. They're different, um, but they kind of have a lot of the same stuff. Uh, but the artists that I listen to kind of fall into the genre. Like there's a lot of like emo slash like poppy punk stuff. A lot of stuff that came out from like 2001 to 2005, like right around when after I graduated college and when I was in college. So like right around there, I would say turn of the century music, if you want to put it that way. And then I also really like Linkin Park, so I listen to them quite a bit, and I listen to a lot of hip hop. So that usually tends to be a little bit more current in terms of what I'm listening to in terms of genres. Um, but like so like the stuff that doesn't really change that much is like I like Fall Out Boy, I like Yellow Card, I like bands like that. Sum 41, Blink 182. Those are fun for me and like high energy, I think. That's kind of pretty stable. That stays in there. And then for the hip hop that generally gets refreshed pretty quickly. Right now I'm listening to a lot of NF. Let's see who else. Juice World in terms of hip hop. Yeah, that's I mean pretty much NF is like the main one that's on there. There's a Apple Music playlist called Beats, I think. Whatever that is just what I'll listen to a lot of times. So, yeah. But all right. That I think that's a good place to end it for today. I had a great time talking to you guys, going down memory lane. That was a big dip back into some nostalgia, talking about Walkman and like the ways that we dealt with our car audio situations, and just audio in general. That was a lot of fun, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow if you guys want. Sunday morning, 6 a.m. on Instagram or 3 p.m. back here on YouTube. Hope you guys are staying safe. If it's storming out where you are, watch out for the lightning. That's no joke. But hopefully, other than that, you're still staying safe with everything else as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, everybody.